I've officially been gassed. Oh man, that was a I'm not gonna overstate it or overreact, but that was a bitch. That sucked in the moment, but afterwards I was like, it was kind of like when they were shooting off that tear gas on Wednesday night when we were at Lyndale and 25th. By the way, if you haven't been watching this week, we've been live covering protests from St. Cloud to South Minneapolis and back. And yesterday I was at the Whipple Federal Building, and there were a couple of counter protesters. I guess Zach X was there. I didn't see him. I saw a counter protester get taken in by ICE and get detained. I think a lot of these people are getting detained and they're just like keeping them on the premises or keeping them in one of those black SUVs and then cutting them loose. I would like to think that they're not wasting their time, bringing charges and, imagine you're federal agents. You come here, you arrest people, and then you bog down our court system with just bullshit. Well, they were standing in the streets during a protest. Like, I was there. The people standing in the streets were not impeding traffic. There were no traffic jams. Outside of, like, ICE vehicles coming out of the entrance, there's maybe, like, one car every 5 or 10 minutes that comes through that area. So you come down Hiawatha Avenue, right? And Hiawatha Avenue just kind of turns into this. There's like a whole government compound. There's the Air National Guard. There's a park and ride. There's the Whipple building. It's just kind of a big, kind of a government mall, if you will. And so nobody's driving down Hiawatha and goes, oh, I'm going to go through a nice drive through the Air National Guard and Whipple building. So like this idea, like when you watch, like I'm watching that, some of these right-wing guys, like that Doherty guy in Florida, and he just wants, like, it's really sad, like as someone who's been small government pretty much my whole adult life, like to watch people who are on the right sit there and beg daddy federal government to like send Marines, send this, send that. It really does. And to watch them do it with no idea of what they're talking about. I mean, that, honest to God, that protest is handleable with a police presence. That's it. Even the tear gas and shit. The only time I've seen tear gas where I was like, yeah, you probably needed to do that was Lyndale and 24th on Wednesday. The tear gas, I've seen tear gas deployed one time at the Whipple building, and it wasn't necessary. I mean, I can see, like, I get it, I understand, but I don't think you needed to do that. The one thing that was working is when federal agents would march forward, that would back everybody off into the streets. So you march forward, everybody goes back, things kind of, like what happens is you have these protesters, then you have some counter protesters, and they start yelling at each other, and they kind of like slowly inch into the street, if you would. They get worked up. And then the ICE people would march forward, and they'd all back off onto the sidewalk. That worked. Nobody's fucking with the federal agents. Like, they're just not. Outside of, like, again, 24th and Lyndale, there were some snowballs. There were some fireworks. And again, I think the use of tear gas at 24th and Lyndale was justified. That was, groups would gather in the intersection and they would be right there on top of everything. And it was, all right, let's back them off. We're in the middle of a neighborhood. Shit could go down, and shit did go down. They were vandalizing cars and they would launch tear gas at it and everything else. But at the Whipple Federal Building, like, it's the biggest home court advantage. I mean, there's fences they put up. You go behind. There is a Minneapolis Police Department presence at Whipple Federal Building where they have two big vehicles and officers with guns. And it's like, all right, you guys spill into the street, whatever. But you cross that threshold to the actual property of the Whipple Building, and they're like, they even say, they go, this is the only warning you're getting. Get off the property. And it's like, okay. All right. That sounds like nobody, and I will eat my hat on air if it happens. this weekend, I promise, and I'll go down there and film it. There is not going to be a large organized like invasion of the Whipple Federal Building. There's just not going to be. I don't think these people would fucking dare. Like, I've gone there not with an agenda. I haven't gone there being right. I haven't gone there being left. A guy asked me, I don't even like it when people ask what channel I'm with, who I'm with, whatever, because I'm just so there not as a commentator. I'm there as just a guy giving you a window in. A guy yesterday had a no more wars and don't protect pedophile signs, and I told him I loved those. I'm like, those are great signs. And he goes, are you a Trump supporter? And I'm like, if you would have asked, am I a Trump voter? I would have said, yeah, I did. I voted for him, but those are the reasons why I'm not a big fan of his right now. But he asked me, are you a Trump supporter? And I said, no. And some of the fans were like, you fucking pussy, you this and that. I'm like, I'm not. And somebody in the chat said it perfect. They said, yeah, Aaron, I know you're not a Trump supporter, but you didn't tell that guy that you're not a Trump supporter for a way different reason than he's not a Trump supporter. I'm like, okay, true. He did not ask that part. I pointed at his two signs. I guess those are a big reason why I'm not a supporter. But it was very funny when people were spurging out in the chat. They were like, you lied, you fucking chicken shit. I'm like, I didn't lie. I told him the truth. I'm not a Trump supporter. If you ask me right now in an approval rating poll, I would say disapprove. But if he would have said, like, why don't you like President Trump? I'm like, I don't want to talk about Israel. Although I probably, you think about it, I probably would have been safe talking my Israel shit at this protest. It would have been libto. But when I was there yesterday, it's just kind of rinse and repeat. Loud protests, fuck you. It's still amazing that these people are so, like, nice to each other and to, like, media and everything else. But then when it comes to ICE, they just turn into different people. If you want to see what Minnesota nice is, go to the Whipple building. Oh, how are you doing? Oh, here's some hand warmers. Go fuck yourself, you fucking Nazi. Suck my dick. It's kind of funny. But like all these people saying, send in the Marines. You don't need them. You just don't need them. And I will say this, ICE is way more quick on the trigger. These guys are not trained law enforcement. These guys were hired during a hiring boom for ICE, and they don't have the training that, say, the MPD or Hennepin County does. I mean, they're cowboys, man. I'm not saying that as a good or a bad thing, but they are cowboys. Like, they're more aggressive than your average police. These guys aren't trained in crowd control, I don't think. I think that's why they brought in federal prison guards. Federal prison guards are helping protect the Whipple building now. And I think a lot of that is because they're like, okay, at least these guys have done their share of crowd control. Now, the problem is they do crowd control for like violent criminals. So you have to be more violent back to them. But, it's better than a bunch of guys who might have been flipping burgers a year ago. But, going down there yesterday, it's kind of rinse and repeat at this point. That's why I hung around in Shoreview for a little while to see if shit popped off elsewhere. It didn't. I headed home at about 5. It's just kind of rinse and repeat. It's protesters yell and scream. And people were kind of saying this in the chat yesterday. They're saying, thanks for covering this. This is kind of just like, it's repetitive at this point. Fuck you, ICE. You guys are Nazis. You guys are shit. And then push a little further into the street, little tear gas, little marching at them. You dissipate. And then everybody comes back. So I'm going to, I think that if there's protests in St. Cloud this weekend, which I think there are, those would be good to cover because with those, we can probably interview some people. We can talk to people, maybe get a little more involved. But no, it's been a lot of fun and it's been very eye-opening. And I like now that I can watch other streamers and I can watch news reports on this shit and call bullshit when needed. I really hope Minnesota doesn't have a lot more moments like this, but I really do enjoy covering them. And like getting, some people were saying it was some kind of chlorine gas. Some people were saying it was CS gas. Some people were saying it was tear gas. Whatever it was dense. It was heavily concentrated. And, a lot of people don't go to these because they're like, oh my God, I might get gassed. I wasn't wearing mouth protection, eye protection, nose protection, anything like that. I got gassed. It sucked for a minute and a half. Your body flushes it out. You know, your nose starts running, your eyes water. You close your eye. The trick is when you get this gas, you close your eyes tight and you hold it for about 10 seconds, and then you open the bitches up, and then the tears just start flushing it out, and it feels better. Burns like a bitch, but it feels good as it's rinsing out of there. And close your eyes really tight again. The only way to get it out of your throat, shut up. It just cough and spit and cough and hack and spit and gag and Jesus, that's going to get clipped. God damn it. But that wasn't so bad. You know, the things I would say before I started covering this stuff that I was worried about was like, oh God, what if a tear gas canister gets launched at me? That's happened. You just run like a bitch. What if I get caught in a cloud of tear gas? That's happened. You just let your body take care of it. So yeah, it was fun, man. It was interesting, and it gives you a new perspective. I would say that, goddamn, has this been mishandled by everybody?
I thought it was funny hearing Aaron talk about being tear gassed for the first time yesterday. So I want to show you what it was like when I got tear gassed for the first time 25 years ago.
Get your arms up! Hold your arms up! Keep walking all the way up, straight up the road. Hold him up! Keep moving! You better get your weapon up! Don't rub your eyes! Hold your arms up! Hold your arms up, son, both of them.
Fuck out of my state! Fuck out of my state!
Hey, arms up, arms out! Hold your arms up! Look at the camera. You better stand up for warriors.